The system was almost dead. Its sun coughed light like an old fire. Graveyard silent. Cold. Waiting. Beyond the last planet, a wall of ships hung in formation. Rows upon rows. Cruisers. Carriers. Siege barges with armored ribs. Engines glowed like watchful eyes. Cannons tracked empty space. They were the Dominion fleet, proud rulers of half the mapped sky. And tonight, they were nervous. Bridge lights dimmed across 1,000 hulls. Officers whispered in clipped tones. Comms crackled with brief orders and false calm. They had all heard the rumor. A human weapon was coming. Humans were supposed to be small players. Late to the stars. Too stubborn to quit, but never truly dangerous. That was the old belief. It felt thin now. A sensor officer on the flagship lifted his head. Reading distortion, he said. No normal jump signature. No clean wake. Space itself pulled like fabric caught on a nail. The admiral, scales polished like coin, stared into the dark. Hold fire, he said. His voice sounded steady. His hands were not. The distortion tore open. At first it looked like a shadow. No lights. No markings. Just absence. Then the absence became a shape. It slid out of nowhere with slow, terrible grace. A single ship. Large enough to shame their biggest battleships. Its hull drank starlight. Edges blurred, as if reality did not know where to put it. Thin rivers of strange energy crawled across its skin, pulsing like a heartbeat. The Dominion bridges went quiet. One word moved through the fleet like frost. Human. They had seen human frigates. Carriers patched with repairs and hope. Fighters that fought too close and died too late. This was not that. This was something else. The thing took position in the system's center. It did not aim weapons. It did not advance. It simply waited, heavy as a threat. On the flagship, an officer leaned toward the admiral. Why is it alone? The admiral did not answer. He could not believe the question. One ship against thousands. Absurd. And yet his stomach felt hollow. Across the line, captains argued on private channels. Attack now. No, hold. Test the shield. No, wait for scouts. The noise grew. So did the fear beneath it. Inside the human vessel, the command deck glowed a deep steel blue. Screens showed the Dominion wall, ship IDs rolling like storm clouds. The human commander stood with his hands behind his back. Calm. Focused. He did not shout. He did not smile. Let them look, he said. Let them see what we brought. His crew moved like a single mind. Every motion practiced. Every word short. Humanity had trained for this. Not for glory. For proof. The Dominion formations tightened. Fighter swarms spread like black dust. Target locks crawled across the human hull and found nothing to hold. The ship's surface swallowed the scans and returned strange echoes. Numbers went wrong. Alarms flickered and then died. A junior captain broke first. Volley on my mark, he barked to his line. No permission from the admiral. Just fear wrapped in courage. Before his countdown reached 1, a voice filled every channel. Human. Flat. Unshaken. This is Commander Hale of the human vessel Vanguard, it said. You are inside a protected boundary. Withdraw. If you fire, you will not win. The words were not loud. They were not angry. They felt like stone dropped into deep water. Some Dominion officers laughed without humor. Others stared at the speaker grid with dry mouths. Old memories woke. Ruins that stayed fighting, colonies that would not die. Humans bled and came back. Everyone knew that story. No one wanted a new chapter. On the flagship, the admiral forced air into his lungs. Return message, he ordered. He meant to say, leave now. His voice came out as a harsh whisper. Advance. Engines ignited across the wall. The line crawled forward. A slow tide of metal. Fighter wings flared into rows, teeth bared. The human ship did not move. It watched. It felt like a mountain watching a river. Why won't it shoot? A Dominion navigator asked, forgetting rank. The admiral knew the answer and hated it. Because it doesn't need to. Silence stretched until it hurt. Seconds pulled like hours. Crew on both sides listened to their own breathing. Hands hovered over triggers, over prayer beads, over lucky metal charms. Inside the Vanguard, power hummed like a deep bell. The commander's gaze did not leave the tactical map. Mark their pride, he said softly. It will pull them closer. The Dominion first line crossed the kill line. Every rangefinder sang green. Every missile bay showed full. Even the bravest officers felt sweat under their collars. Hale spoke once more, to all of them, and to history. Last warning, he said. Turn around. A lull. A heartbeat. Then the universe inhaled. Across the Dominion wall, captains made the same choice. Pride over caution. Fear disguised as rage. Fire. Light bloomed in the dark. Launch tubes flashed. Batteries roared. Beams and bolts and burning arcs clawed for the lone black hull. The dying star watched. The void held its breath. And the human ship waited for the storm to land. The first wave hit like a sunrise of fire. Thousands of plasma bursts crossed the void, painting the dark in violent color. Bolts of light streaked toward the vanguard, each one carrying enough power to melt a moon's crust. The Dominion officers cheered when the sky lit up, a cheer born more from fear than victory. But when the brightness faded, their joy froze in their throats. The human dreadnought still stood, unmoving, untouched. The storm had passed through it like wine through shadow. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Rether leaned forward in disbelief. Report, he barked. His sensors chief stammered. Our shots, bent around it, sir. The energy, it's being absorbed. Absorbed? Yes, Admiral. Not deflected. Not shielded. Swallowed. Silence filled the command deck. Every heartbeat sounded like a countdown. Every officer knew what that meant. Their best weapons were useless. On the vanguard, the hum of power pulsed softly, calm against the chaos outside. Commander Hale watched through the main viewport, his face still as stone. His crew waited for his word, hands ready over the controls, but none moved. The ship had endured the strike without a single tremor. Its black armor glowed faintly, feeding on the energy it had just absorbed. Status? Hale asked. All systems optimal. Armor charge increased by 12%, replied his chief engineer. The commander nodded. Good. They've just made us stronger. Across the Dominion fleet, panic began to crawl. Captains shouted over comms, demanding explanations, demanding anything. Some ordered second volleys, others wanted retreat. No one agreed. The great Dominion Armada, once a symbol of unity, now fractured under fear. Fire again, screamed a voice through the channels. Hundreds obeyed. Missiles, lasers, particle beams, another storm, brighter, angrier, desperate. The vanguard did not move. Again, the weapons met its hull, and again, they vanished into nothing. On the Dominion bridge, Admiral Rether's hands shook as he rose from his throne. This cannot be, he whispered. His aide trembled. Sir, maybe it's not a ship. The Admiral turned on him. What do you mean? It acts like it's alive, the aide whispered. Like it's watching us. And it was. Inside the human dreadnought, Hale stood before the glowing tactical display. He could see the Dominion formations reshaping, confusion spreading like cracks in glass. He felt no joy, only a cold certainty. They still don't understand, he said quietly. His second officer, a woman with tired eyes, glanced at him. Should we strike first? Hale shook his head. No. Let them break themselves. The galaxy will remember what pride costs. Outside, the Dominion's fleet drifted in restless silence. No one dared to fire now. No one dared to move too close. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled through fear, enslaving worlds, silencing rebellions, burning civilizations. Now that same fear had turned against them. They stared at a single ship that defied everything they knew about power. A human creation, black steel, quiet engines, and unshakable will. Whispers moved through the ranks. How did they build that? Humans can't have this technology. It's impossible. But impossibility was a human specialty. Hale finally turned toward his crew. Prepare targeting, he said. No emotion. No rush. Every officer's hand moved in unison, smooth and silent. Circuits glowed beneath the deck as the Vanguard's weapons came alive. Outside, faint lines of light traced across its surface like veins awakening. In the Dominion fleet, alarms began to scream. Energy surge, shouted an officer. Levels off the charts. What kind of weapon is that? The Admiral demanded. No one answered. On the Vanguard, Commander Hale gave the simplest order in history. Show them. A deep vibration filled the void. Stars around the human dreadnought bent slightly, their light warped by invisible gravity. The hull shimmered with a heatless glow. The ship's front split open, revealing a single cannon the size of a mountain. For one endless moment, nothing moved. The galaxy held its breath. Then a pulse. A flash brighter than dawn. And silence returned. The front line of Dominion cruisers simply ceased to exist. No explosions. No debris. Just gone. 5 ships erased, their atoms scattered like dust across the stars. Every Dominion soldier who saw it went still. Their hearts knew the truth before their minds caught up. They were no longer the hunters. They were prey. On the Vanguard's bridge, Hale spoke softly, a whisper carried across eternity. They fired first, he said. Now they will learn. The void still shimmered from the aftermath of the first strike. Where once there had been rows of Dominion warships, now there was nothing, just dust, glowing softly like dying embers in the dark. The surviving ships drifted out of formation, engines flickering, systems overwhelmed with fear and disbelief. Thousands of voices screamed across the comms, overlapping in panic. On the flagship Eidolon's Wrath, Admiral Rether's claws dug into the arms of his throne. His crew waited for orders that never came. He had seen many battles, crushed rebellions, silenced uprisings, conquered worlds, but nothing like this. 5 of his finest cruisers, gone in a single breath. No explosion, no resistance, just erased. Admiral, one of his officers whispered. Their weapon, it bends gravity. The readings. Stop. Rether's voice cracked. He could not bear to hear the word impossible again. His golden eyes stared at the display, at that single black ship now slowly turning toward them. Every instinct told him to flee. Every shred of pride told him to fight. Across the Dominion lines, captains argued in chaos. Some shouted to regroup. Others demanded retreat. And still, a few refused to believe what they saw. They're bluffing, one said. It's a trick. They can't fire again. But deep down, even he didn't believe his own words. The Vanguard floated in silence. Its surface still glowed with faint, pulsing energy, alive, aware, hungry. Inside, Commander Hale stood at the center of his bridge. Damage report, he said. None, replied his tactical officer. Enemy response. They're scattered. Confused. Their command is fracturing. Hale nodded slowly. Good. Then we begin. The crew moved without hesitation. Panels shifted. Systems aligned. They had trained for this not as soldiers, but as survivors. For humanity, this was not conquest. This was warning. Outside, Dominion sensors screamed again. Energy was rising inside the Vanguard. But this time, the readings were different, darker, colder. Something beyond their comprehension was gathering in its core. Admiral, cried the sensor chief. We're detecting a second weapon charge, larger than before. Rether's throat tightened. Order the fleet to spread formation. Now, ships turned in panic, colliding, scraping hulls, engines burning. The once perfect wall of the Dominion Armada now looked like shattered glass. Then the Vanguard fired again. A beam of compressed antimatter cut through the void. It didn't explode, it devoured. An entire squadron vanished in an instant, their remains forming a spiral of glowing debris around the fading beam. Each ship that fell seemed to take another with it, the chain reaction tearing through ranks faster than thought. The Dominion fleet's comm channels dissolved into terror. Shields failing. They're cutting through everything. Our weapons aren't even touching them. Retreat. Retreat. But there was nowhere to run. The human dreadnought's weapons had range beyond reason. Every blast it unleashed was a line of death drawn across the stars. On the Vanguard's bridge, Hale's crew worked like a machine. Their faces were calm, emotionless. Only one young officer dared to speak. Sir, they're breaking apart. Do we continue? Hale turned to him. His expression was neither cruel nor kind, only certain. They came here to test us. Now they will see the result of that test. He raised a hand. Release the swarms. Hidden panels opened along the dreadnought's sides. From them poured a storm of small, sleek drones, thousands of them, dark as oil and fast as lightning. They streaked through the void, weaving between the Dominion fighters. Everywhere they flew, engines died, ships exploded, and pilots screamed. Within minutes, the Dominion's fighter wings, millions strong, were gone. The drones returned to orbit the Vanguard, silent and perfect in their formation, like a crown of shadows. The Dominion admirals could barely speak. Their empire had never lost a battle in 1,000 years. Now, in less than an hour, they had lost everything. Admiral, an officer said weakly, we cannot win. Rether's claws trembled. If we flee, the galaxy will call us cowards. If we stay, the officer whispered, there will be no one left to call us anything. He was right. The Vanguard turned again, its weapons recharging. And every Dominion heart watching knew. This was not a ship. It was judgment. Humanity had come to collect its due. Inside the dreadnought, Hale stared into the void. No satisfaction. No hatred. Only resolve. They fired first, he murmured again. Now history fires back. The next blast erased the Dominion's last line of defense. 1,000 voices went silent at once. The void grew still, save for one ship, alone, untouchable, unstoppable. And across that silence, the galaxy began to understand. The age of human fear was over. The age of human power had begun. The Dominion fleet was no longer a fleet. It was wreckage, drifting, burning, dying. The once golden armada that had ruled the stars now floated in silence, broken into fragments of metal and light. Engines flickered like dying candles. Weapons went cold. And in the middle of that graveyard, one ship still moved, slow, calm, unstoppable. The Vanguard. Its hull glowed with the faint heat of its own fury. Each pulse of its energy core echoed through the void like a heartbeat. To the surviving Dominion officers, it felt less like a machine and more like a living force. Something ancient, something inevitable. On the flagship Eidolon's Wrath, Admiral Rether stood surrounded by holograms of burning ships. Every one of his screens showed destruction. The Dominion's pride, its grand fleet, reduced to dust. He wanted to scream. He wanted to deny it. But the truth hung before him like a mirror he could not look away from. Admiral, his communications officer stammered, we're losing all frequencies. Most ships are gone. The rest, they're fleeing. Rether's voice was hoarse. Fleeing? From humans? No one answered. No one dared to remind him that humanity had already become something far beyond that simple word. Across the battlefield, the surviving Dominion ships scattered in all directions. Some jumped to hyperspace without coordinates. Others tried to hide behind the broken carcasses of their comrades. It didn't matter. The Vanguard saw them all. On the human dreadnought's bridge, Commander Hale watched the chaos unfold. His eyes were fixed on the glowing red dots fading from the tactical display one by one. He did not smile. There was no joy in what he saw, only clarity. Sir, said his second officer quietly, they're running. They always do, Hale replied. Fear spreads faster than light. He turned to the helm. Keep our position steady. Do not pursue. The helmsman blinked in surprise. We're letting them go? Hale's voice was calm. Let them live long enough to tell the story. The Dominion soldiers who survived would carry that story across the stars. A story too terrible to forget. A story that would burn through every empire, every council, every colony that ever mocked humanity. But for now, silence reclaimed the void. Only the soundless hum of the Vanguard's engines remained. Deep within the Dominion's shattered command network, the Council of Admirals came online. Dozens of holograms flickered into existence. Distorted faces of insectoids, reptilians, and crystalline beings, each one representing a corner of the once mighty Dominion. Fear poisoned their voices. This cannot continue, hissed Admiral Vane, her mandibles clicking in panic. Our fleets are collapsing. The galaxy will see us broken. Then fight, roared another. Regroup. Send everything we have. With what ships? Vane snapped. They are gone. All of them. The council descended into chaos, shouting, blaming, denying. No one noticed the faint signal bleeding into their channel until it was too late. A human voice. Calm, cold, unmistakable. This is Commander Hale of the human dreadnought Vanguard, it said. You stand in violation of our space. You invaded, and now you've paid the price. Every Dominion admiral froze. The human's words were quiet, but each syllable carried the weight of a collapsing empire. You thought we were weak. You thought we were prey. But humanity learns. Humanity endures. And when we rise, we never stop. The signal cut off. Static filled the air. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Admiral Rether slammed his fist against his console. Enough. They dare mock us. His aide looked up from the floor. Sir, their message wasn't mockery. It was truth. Rether glared at him. Truth. Yes, the aide whispered. We're not fighting humans anymore. We're fighting everything they've survived. For a long moment, Rether said nothing. The truth sank in like poison. Every empire that had tried to destroy humanity, every weapon, Every experiment, every war, had only made them stronger. And now, all that fury, all that evolution, had taken shape in one ship. On the Vanguard, the lights dimmed. Weapons cooled. The swarm of drones returned to their base. The ship drifted through the wreckage, silent as a shadow. Commander Hale turned from the viewport. "Power down to standby," he ordered. "Recover what we can from the debris. Any survivors we find, leave them." "Leave them?" his second asked. "They'll spread the story," he said. "That's worth more than killing them." The crew obeyed. They moved with discipline, their faces expressionless. They were not conquerors. They were witnesses to their own warning. Outside, a single Dominion battleship still floated, engines dead, but lights faintly flickering. Its crew watched as the Vanguard passed. Some prayed, some wept, and some stared, hollow-eyed, as the human ship glided past, black, silent, infinite. One Dominion captain whispered, "If this is what one ship can do, how many more do they have?" No one answered him. No one could. The Vanguard slowly turned away from the burning field. Its engines glowed a deep crimson, bright enough to make the nearby star flicker. And then, with a soundless ripple, it vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a graveyard of kings. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Dominion's banner did not fly over the stars. For the first time, the galaxy trembled not at the name of an empire, but at the name of humanity. The battle was over, but its echoes were only beginning. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet drifted in silence, orbiting the dying sun like ghosts of a fallen empire. Each shattered cruiser, each burned-out hull, told the same story. One ship had come, and everything had ended. No one dared to approach the system now. Rescue fleets ignored the distress calls. Scavengers stayed away. Even the boldest pirates whispered and turned back, as if the very space around the battlefield had become cursed. Far away, light years beyond the ruins, the story spread. At first, it was a rumor. A whisper passed through smuggler channels and forgotten trade routes. A human ship, they said. A single human dreadnought that erased an entire armada. No one believed it. No one wanted to believe it. But then came the evidence. Fragments of Dominion black boxes. Broken transmissions intercepted by border stations. Distress signals cut off mid-scream. And one final message, sent by a Dominion officer moments before his ship was destroyed. They call it Vanguard. The galaxy listened. And the galaxy began to fear. On a neutral world at the edge of the rim, the Galactic Trade Council met in secret. Representatives of 5 great empires stood around a dark table, their faces lit by the flicker of holographic fire, footage taken from the remains of Dominion sensors. The recording showed it clearly. A black shape, larger than anything they had ever built. A single blast of white light. And then nothing. The insectoid minister of the Krill clicked her mandibles nervously. "It cannot be human," she said. "Humans do not possess such technology." The crystalline delegate of the Virum replied, his voice trembling. "They didn't. Until now." Another, from the ZYR Confederacy, hissed, "Perhaps the Dominion provoked them. Perhaps this was self-defense." The Krill minister slammed her claws on the table. "Self-defense? They annihilated a fleet of thousands." A pause. Then the Virum delegate said softly, "Yes. And they warned them first." The room fell silent. No one had an answer. No one dared to speak the truth that all of them knew. The humans had not fought for conquest. They had fought for respect. And they had earned it. On Earth, the command center of the United Terran Fleet was quiet. The Vanguard's return had not been celebrated with parades or victory speeches. No trumpets, no banners, no cheers. Only silence. Commander Hale stepped off the boarding platform and walked through the long, dim corridors of the Terran command spire. Every officer he passed stood at attention. None smiled. They all knew what had happened. They had seen the same reports, the same recordings, the same destruction. At the debriefing chamber, Fleet Marshal Arya Dorn waited for him. Her hair was streaked with silver, her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. She gestured for him to sit. He didn't. "You did what you were ordered to do," she said. Hale's voice was calm. "I did what was necessary." Dorn's eyes narrowed. "And do you understand what you've done?" "Yes," Hale said. "We've ended the Dominion's fear of us." The Marshal leaned forward. "You didn't end it, Commander. You turned it into something worse." He didn't reply. There was nothing to say. After a long silence, Dorn sighed. The Council wants to bury the details. The public will only hear what we allow them to hear. Then they'll lie, Hale said. They'll protect, she corrected. The galaxy isn't ready to know what we've become. Hale's eyes hardened. They will know. Fear spreads faster than truth. He turned toward the window, where the Vanguard floated in orbit below, dark, colossal, still humming with quiet power. We didn't build that ship to rule, he said. We built it so no one would ever rule us again. Across the stars, the Dominion reeled. Their leaders hid behind locked doors. Whole worlds fell into chaos. Citizens burned their flags and cursed their admirals. The word Vanguard became a curse, a warning, a legend. In military academies across alien worlds, instructors began rewriting their tactics manuals. No simulation could prepare them for the impossible, the human way of war. Unpredictable, unyielding, unbreakable. And on the galactic networks, one phrase began to circulate in 1,000 languages. If one human ship can do this, what happens when they send two? No one laughed. No one doubted. Because deep down, every empire, every world, every soldier knew the humans were changing. They were not just surviving anymore. They were ascending. In his quarters aboard the Vanguard, Commander Hale sat alone, watching the stars outside his viewport. The galaxy was quiet tonight. Too quiet. He thought of the lives lost, Dominion and human alike, and felt the weight of what his species had become. He whispered to himself, they thought they could break us. All they did was teach us how to fight. Outside, the Vanguard's engines pulsed once, like the steady beat of a giant heart. Somewhere, light years away, new fleets were already forming. Empires whispered, rulers trembled, and soldiers trained harder than ever before. The galaxy had changed, and humanity was now at storm. Weeks passed, but the scars of the battle refused to fade. The space once ruled by the Dominion had become a graveyard, a silent monument to human defiance. Where fleets once patrolled, now only wreckage drifted. Where orders once echoed, only static remained. And across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. In the shadowed halls of alien capitals, leaders argued behind sealed doors. Some demanded war, others demanded surrender. But all of them feared the same thing. The humans were no longer predictable. They had built something the galaxy had never seen before. Power without arrogance, strength without mercy. On the crystalline world of Valis, the Council of Stars convened, a gathering of the most powerful species left after the Dominion's fall. Holograms of burning fleets flickered above their round table. Each delegate spoke in fragments, afraid to finish their own sentences. They cannot have done this alone, hissed the scaled Quran admiral. Then who helped them? Asked a winged envoy. No empire would arm a species like humanity. They didn't need help, muttered a pale, trembling voice from the shadows. The others turned. It was the representative of the YRR coalition, one of the few who had fought humans before. I saw it happen centuries ago, the YRR whispered. You conquer them. You burn their cities. And they rebuild, harder, smarter, colder. Every defeat makes them evolve. No one laughed. No one disagreed. The truth was too heavy. The meeting ended in silence. Each world would prepare its defenses. Each fleet would begin rearmament. But deep down, they all knew it would not matter. No weapon could stop what was coming. Far from those councils, the Vanguard drifted through the darkness of interstellar space. It had not returned home to Earth. It didn't need to. Its mission was not finished. Inside the ship's command bridge, Commander Hale stood before the viewport, staring at the endless stars. His reflection looked hollow in the glass. A man who had won too easily, at a price no one yet understood. His second officer approached quietly. Fleet Command wants you back for a full review, she said. I know, Hale replied. You're ignoring them? I'm delaying. She hesitated. Sir, people are afraid. Not just the aliens. Our own colonies, our allies. They've seen the recordings. They're calling you the harbinger of humanity. He didn't move. Let them call me what they need to, he said softly. As long as they remember. The officer frowned. Remember what? Hale turned toward her, his eyes like the void itself. That peace only exists when we make it impossible to break. In the outer colonies, human citizens watched the footage of the Dominion's fall on every holoscreen. Children stared in awe. Veterans wept quietly. And governments that had once begged the alien powers for trade and protection now stood tall. The human flag, once a symbol of survival, had become a promise, a warning to anyone who would dare enslave them again. Recruitment centers overflowed. Scientists volunteered for the fleet. Entire industries shifted toward defense and exploration. And orbiting above Mars, the Terran shipyards burned with light, assembling something vast. New hulls, new engines, new dreadnoughts. The Vanguard was no longer alone. It was becoming the first of many. But not everyone celebrated. In the deep halls of Terran Command, Fleet Marshal Arya Dorn met with a circle of silent advisors. They spoke in whispers. Commander Hale has not reported in. He's beyond the frontier. He disobeys orders. He's too powerful. Dorn rubbed her temples. He's not the danger, she said. The danger is what comes next. Every empire will build now. Every weapon, every fleet, all to match us. We've started a race that won't end. Then recall him, said one general. Can you recall a storm? She replied quietly. In the dark sectors beyond mapped space, the Vanguard entered a nebula thick with electric storms. Lightning arced across its black hull, casting blue veins across its armor. Hale watched the readouts as his ship moved deeper into the unknown. There were no orders now, no targets, no wars. Only preparation. The human commander spoke to his crew over the internal channel. We were made for this, he said. For centuries, they called us fragile, primitive, dangerous because we refused to die. Now they'll call us something else, inevitable. His words echoed through the decks. Every officer straightened. Every technician worked in silence, steady and unshaken. Outside, the nebula lightning flared again, and for an instant, the Vanguard looked less like a ship and more like a god made of steel. On a distant moon, a merchant ship picked up a transmission, a signal carried on an encrypted human frequency. It was short. 3 words. Phase 2 initiated. The captain replayed it twice before deleting it. He didn't understand it, but he felt its meaning. Something larger than the Dominion, larger than war, was moving in the dark. Across 1,000 worlds, the story of humanity spread like fire. Empires trembled, alliances fractured, and somewhere, deep in the void, the Vanguard prepared for what came next. Humanity had survived. Now it was time to ascend. The galaxy slept uneasily. No empire dared to move first. No admiral dared to give the wrong order. The memory of one battle, one ship, haunted them all. The Dominion's fall had become a ghost story whispered from world to world, told in the same hushed tone. A shadow came from Earth, and the stars bowed before it. In the void beyond mapped space, the Vanguard floated silently. Its black hull reflected nothing, not the light of nearby suns, not the distant gleam of nebulae. It was the shape of fear itself, alive but resting, patient but never idle. Commander Hale stood alone on the observation deck. Before him stretched the endless sea of stars, cold, beautiful, and waiting. For the first time since the battle, he allowed himself to breathe. He could still hear the screams of the Dominion fleet. He could still see their ships torn apart, not by rage, but by resolve. His second officer entered quietly. Sir, she said, Fleet Command has sent new orders. They want the Vanguard to return home. Hale didn't answer at first. He watched a comet drift across the glass. They don't understand, he murmured. This isn't over. She hesitated. The Dominion is gone. The galaxy is terrified of us. What more is there to do? Hale turned, his eyes sharp and steady. Fear fades, he said, but respect lasts. They fear us now because they don't yet know us. That will change. He walked toward the center of the bridge, his boots echoing against steel. All channels, he ordered. A moment later, the Vanguard's transmission systems activated, not for war, but for a message that would travel across the galaxy. To every world, every species, every power that still held breath in fear, the voice came through the void. Calm, clear, human. This is Commander Hale of the Terran Dreadnought Vanguard. The Dominion attacked our border. We warned them to leave. They refused. Their fate was their own making. Humanity will not conquer. Humanity will not kneel. We stand for peace, but if peace is challenged, we will answer. Let the galaxy remember this. The era of human submission is over. From this day forward, we stand as equals or as storms. The transmission ended. For a long time, no one spoke anywhere. No empire replied. No threat followed. Even the stars seemed to pause, as if they were listening. On Earth, the message was received with awe and silence. Billions gathered in cities, stations, and colonies, watching their commander's face projected across the sky. There were no cheers, only pride, and something heavier. Responsibility. For the first time, humanity wasn't fighting to survive. They were standing tall among giants. And the giants were looking down in fear. Fleet Marshal Dorn stood in her command tower, listening to Hale's final words replay on the holo. She whispered to herself, "He's right. We can't go back to being small again." Then she turned to her aides. "Begin the Vanguard initiative. No more hiding. Humanity has entered the galactic stage." The aides exchanged uneasy glances. They all knew what it meant, the birth of a new age. A fleet of ships like the Vanguard, each one carrying the strength of a world, the will of a species, and the warning of a legend. Far away, on worlds that once belonged to the Dominion, survivors rebuilt their cities in silence. Children played among the ruins of their empire, carving human symbols into broken walls. And in the night sky above them, the humans' ships moved like silent stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Whispers turned into belief. Belief turned into truth. The humans were not destroyers. They were balance. The galaxy's reminder that no power, no empire, no ruler lasted forever. Inside the Vanguard, the engines began to hum again. Hale watched as his crew prepared for departure. "Destination?" his navigator asked. "Outward," Hale said simply. "There's still more galaxy to see." He placed a hand on the console, feeling the pulse of the ship beneath him, the heartbeat of humanity's future. "They'll come for us again one day," he said quietly. His officer nodded. "And when they do?" Hale looked at the stars, his voice firm as steel. "Then they'll learn what it means to challenge us twice." The Vanguard's engines flared. Space rippled. And in a burst of light, it vanished, leaving behind only silence and a single truth carved into the heart of the cosmos. Humanity was no longer the hunted. Humanity was the storm.